All right, so the first few slides on the attached PowerPoint we've already reviewed elsewhere. So we're just going to look at the opposing and alternate viewpoints and the rebuttals. We've already discussed opposing viewpoints are those that are opposed to your own. So if you believed in capital punishment, for example, an opposing view would argue against capital punishment. That would be a total opposition. Alternate points of view are different from your own, but not necessarily opposed. In other words, we're going to continue with our capital punishment argument and some examples in the next few slides. But what you're going to see is that people agree with your viewpoint, right? But maybe for different reasons. All right, so they're still for capital punishment, but for different reasons. So one example, I'm of a different viewpoint, an alternate viewpoint, might say I'm for the death penalty, but only for certain offenses. So they agree with you, but not capital punishment for everything, just for certain offenses. Or an alternate viewpoint might say I'm for the death penalty, but I find the methods barbaric. So again, they agree with me on principle that they're for capital punishment, but it's the methods they have a problem with. So those are probably more common. You're not always going to find people directly opposed to you, but people who agree with you in some ways and disagree with you in others. So the rebuttal, we mentioned in the argument terminology overview, is after you have stated fully the opposition's points, you have to either discredit, minimize, or invalidate those points. And sometimes you wind up doing a little bit of all three. We need to have opposing points of view that come from real sources. I don't want to see this, well, some people believe that kind of introduction to a counterclaim. Make sure your counterclaims are coming from real sources, that you're stating them fully and ethically. In other words, you're not trying to twist their words around. You're saying what they're really saying before you rebut them. So let's look at discrediting first. Discrediting the opposing view. You should find fault with the view, and you have to be very specific about it, right? The opposing viewpoint is incorrect because, right? Why is this person's viewpoint incorrect? Give me specifics. Secondly, we can minimize the importance of a point of view, because sometimes you'll see that, well, sometimes the other side has a valid point, but maybe it's not as big as they think it is. So, right, I could say, yes, the opposing point of view is correct, but it's not significant. It's not a big deal. It's not as widespread as they think, etc. So you're just trying to minimize the importance of what they're saying. And finally, we can invalidate the opposing viewpoint by saying, again, that the viewpoint is correct, true, but not for this particular situation. Yes, it was valid in World War I, but the same argument can't be made for the Vietnam War or something like that, right? That sometimes counterclaims have good points, but they may not always work for your particular situation, and that's a way to discredit them. Be careful when you're doing your rebuttal and your explanation of opposing points of view and alternate points of view. Be aware of your tone of voice. We don't use sarcasm. We don't belittle others. We don't want to diminish our own credibility. We'll talk about credibility in a later video. We want to be respectful, right? Even if you find something stupid, we don't want to tell people that this argument is stupid, right? We just want to be very professional, state what the opposing view is, and explain why it's not valid. We don't want somebody rejecting our own claim because we've been unprofessional and immature in our handling of other people's claims.